taught in quantum structure, you have to understand that it's only you. It's only you in a structure. There is a hologram, and in that hologram, you are expanding to the collective and collapsing to the single unit of you here. Now, there is a process with that, which is reality within the reality. And we discussed the collapse in a single unit. When you project something through fluctuation, 1 + 1 equals 3, always collapses. I also gave you that fractal. When you move in moment to moment, the way we did it here, in between all that collapse, you collapse to whatever the fluctuation, positive and negative. The challenge with this is that when you stay in that momentum with all that structure, is reality within the reality, and you project in the matrix. I've noticed so many people get confused with that, and this is another new explanation that I'm going to give you today on another layer to all that, because I saw how confusing that is. So the number one is you are projecting everything in reality. So what happens the next platform, the way you're sitting over here, at the moment you project something, frequency of the heart and the mind, this is all vibration, and that vibration projects another version of you within the consciousness itself, within the collective itself. So now, that new version of you could be a person, could be a male or female, whatever you want to interact. Remember, this is within your structure, and you're projecting that reflection, which is a mirror image, is another reality. But this reality for itself has its own evolution and its own timeline. That person, like George, for example, you projected George, and the day you interacting with George, have a free will. And George will use the same structure for himself in his reality frequency, and that becomes his own platform of frequency, while you at the same time have your own platform of a frequency that you're running, and that is going to be based on your heart, your emotions, and what you have chosen to behave through the collapse of all this structure. That means that within the collective, you projected another version of yourself when that person has its own reality, his own timeline, and in his reality, he can create another earth, because in his reality, this is the structure. For his timeline, for your timeline, this is your own structure. And it's fractal for itself, one unit. Each time you project, this is the platform that happens simultaneously. It's quantum. Very quick. So when you say the people out there, there's no people out there. You project in another version that they have chosen to project completely different timeline of ascension. When you in your frequency could have created, for example, that you connect with extraterrestrials in your timeline. Well, George decided not to do that. When these people have their own timeline, they can decide to split up, but when they split up, they also gonna go into the structure itself, when that's gonna reprint in a lower frequency to stay in a 3D, and you may shift to 5D reality, which actually gonna reprint itself within itself above the structure of the 3D. In this way, there's nobody outside of you. You're just reprinting and you're moving through the structure. However, because it's a collective consciousness, you're actually seeing what they're doing. But it doesn't mean their experience is going to be yours, because it's could be another version, but that another version has its own choosing, its own collective movement. And that is very important to understand, because when you say, well, I see what other people doing, that's what they said. The other people is another version of you guys. Allow the structure, that's your 0 point now, allow the structure to choose what to do. Why? Because if you don't allow and you worry what they're doing, how they're doing it, and you get angry, keep judging from their structure. If you remember that, we talk about that, from their structure, that frequency of you judging is projected within the field and is reflecting back to you immediately. So you're starting to coexist and vibrate now within one unit, one timeline, because you end up doing that and you're locking yourself through the collapse in a negative outcome. Remember, positive, negative? You're going to end up in a negative outcome because you have chosen to constantly complain and worry about it. And that frequency is going to pull you and resonate within your own field now. And this is how between these two realities, you create a reality you coexisting, but you actually reprinted another version of yourself, where in that version you lower the vibration. And when you lower the vibration, you're not running simultaneously in a structure in a 5D, you're starting to run in a 3D structure, because you allow that frequency to come into your field. And if you keep talking about it and if you worry about it, that's going to happen. And more you do that, more and more you're going to lower the frequency and the lower vibrational existence timeline. And all of a sudden you're curious why so many stuff that are negative happening.